In the not-too-distant present, a challenge unlike any other begins. 3 men, 1 year, 0 game purchases. They stand against temptation, towering backlogs, and the endless lure of digital sales. This is the Year of Shame Challenge. A test of willpower, a battle against impulse, a journey into the heart of unplayed games, where only discipline survives. Hello and welcome to episode 2 of the Year of Shame Challenge, season 14. You join myself, Rich, Stuart and Brian normally on our year-long adventure of not buying or playing any new video games, instead turning our attention to the vast and underloved backlogs of games that we have. In this and all of the episodes, we'll do life updates, talk about what we've been playing, watching, reading. We'll have a roundup of the games we're most sad to be missing out on, any news that catches our interest, and finally, questions from the community. Normally, there's the 3 of us, but this time it's just myself and Stuart. Hello, Stuart.
Hey, how's it going?
And sadly, Brian's been dealing with a family bereavement and travelling across the world to be with his family. So I'm sure, Stuart, you'll join me in offering him our thoughts and love.
Most
and hopefully
definitely.
He'll be back next time. Yeah,
definitely.
Shall we kick straight off into life updates? So, Stuart, how have you been? And what have you been up to?
Yeah, I've been good, you know. What have I been up to? Well, not a lot away from the keyboard and joystick. Myself and my wife took a trip down to a place called Huonville, which is about 30 minutes drive away a couple of weekends ago. And it's a lovely area. You know, there's a river that runs through the center of the town. Lots of orchards, lots of vineyards, beautiful valley with hills on either side of it. Just a really nice part of the world, you know, and it makes us appreciate living in Tasmania because it's clean air, clean water, fresh food. Everything is just, you know, the way that it should be, I guess. So that was a nice trip away, even if it was only, you know, sort of a 30-minute drive one way and a 30-minute drive back, you know. but yeah, it was nice. So that was the activities away. I mean, other than that, you know, there's the usual doing the garden and walking the dog and, you know, going to the beach, but nothing major. It's been quite a quiet month.
What sort of dog have you got, Stuart?
It's a 2-year-old chocolate lab. And
I love a chocolate lab.
Yeah, she thinks she's a poodle though, and she'll run at you full pelt and just hit you like a rugby player and take you out. She's just been to the vets last week because she's now, I think she's about 43 kilos. So
that's
a big beast.
Yeah.
But she's a lovely dog. You know, she's soft as all hell. There's not a bad bone in her body. And she would just lick you to death if she was given the chance, you know. But like I say, she doesn't know her own body mass, and she just runs through things rather than running up to them. Yeah. Have you got a dog yourself?
No, we're a cat family.
Okay.
So we did have 2 cats, but one of them took on a car about a year back. So we're left with the annoying one. So we had 2, and one was beautiful and soppy and was just always up for a fuss and just really calm and quiet. And the other one is like completely wired. And we always used to joke that if one of them goes, we're going to be left with the shit one. And so it came to pass. So we've got this kind of like just crazy cat that's like just constantly like meowing for food and will just run around like a lunatic.
Yeah.
But she's sweet. She's sweet. I'd love to have a dog, but I think it's one of those kind of lifestyle things. So I think if I was out in Tasmania with space around me and, you know, beaches to walk on and stuff, I'd definitely be in the dog market.
We used to have 2 cats, but they reached the age of about 18 before, you know, it was time to say goodbye. Both of them they owned the house. The dog didn't even get a chance to, you know, get a look in. And so when they passed away, we got this tiny little kitten, and it was called Rogue because it was just completely rogue. Everything it did was just 120%, over the top. And then I think I mentioned on the last episode, unfortunately, it got bitten by a snake and passed away.
Oh yes, blimey.
It only lasted it was about a year and a bit, and so poor wee thing. So we haven't replaced it yet, but eventually I think that will happen, and so we'll be back to the chaos of having cats and dogs having this little power struggle in the house again.
Yeah, amazing.
Yeah. What have you been up to, Rich?
Well, I mean, I'm very envious you talking about going out for nice walks and stuff. So here in the UK, it has been raining, like literally since before we recorded the last episode. There's towns and villages not far from me that are putting in good stints for getting the longest run of consecutive days of rain. It has been utterly miserable. It's been cold, windy, rainy for a month. So there's been precious little going out and about into the world. It's been, just get to wherever you need to be under the most cover that you can.
Mm-hmm.
But that's been okay. I think I talked last time about hopefully moving house soon. I'm probably at exactly the same stage that I was a month ago. It seems that conveyancing solicitors only work on a Friday. And that work involves only answering emails if I send them an email saying, hello, what's going on? And the update is the same, which is, oh, yeah, things are going well. We'll hopefully hear more next week. So look forward to probably the same update in a month. But each time I do get a message, it makes me think that maybe it's happening soon. So I've actually had to sacrifice a bit of gaming time this month in favour of going through the countless and infinite amount of crap that is stored around my house, trying to whittle down what's coming with me and what's being left behind or sent on to somewhere else. So I've been clearing out lofts and, just going through cupboards and finding all manner of stuff. So up in the loft, I've found, it's called a play seat, which sounds like some kind of kinky sex toy or something, but it's a racing chair. I found an old not even old, a 4K TV with 1 pixel that's gone, that obviously didn't make it through my quality control one day and immediately got replaced. I found a speaker system for my desktop PC. So I've cleared out tons of stuff, and the house is still chock-a-block with things, but progress is being made there. I've had a big birthday since we last recorded.
Congrats.
So this week. Yeah, I've racked up my half century.
Nice one.
Which is unbelievable. So I had a nice day off work, went to the cinema, and we'll talk about that in movies that we've been watching. So I went to a morning cinema viewing, which is always good fun because there's never anybody in the cinema. So there's me and my family and literally nobody else in the entire cinema, sitting on our reclining seats. And it was interesting actually, because we went in and there was no sound, and just thought, oh, maybe they don't pump out the sound until there's actually people in there. So we sat there in silence for a bit, and then the trailers started coming on and there was still no sound, and so we had to go and get somebody. And they were super confused, and I think maybe 20 years ago it would have been a case of just turning the volume knob up, but of course now none of it's controlled locally, so it was like, oh, we're going to have to ring main control, and then they're going to have to do a reboot. So it was a little bit nervous, but we managed to get the sound going and have a nice time. Went out for a nice burger lunch afterwards. And then I think earlier in the month, a little bit related to kind of tidying up the house and getting ready for a move, I pretty much took a week off gaming. It's not brilliant content for a gaming podcast. But it's one of those where you're thinking, oh, should I get on and be playing? And it's like, well, no, go with your instinct. If you
definitely
feel like you've got too much else going on, it's sometimes nice just to switch off. And then actually, as ever, when you come back to it, it's all the better. You're like, yes, this is what I really love. So a bit of that. And then I think I mentioned we were talking about New Year's resolutions last time. So I've been trying to get a bit fitter and lose a bit of weight. So weight update, I'm now 17 pounds, which is 7.7 kilos lighter than I was on January the
Wow.
1st. So it's sort of like progressing, and not all of it is fitness. Sometimes it's just not having those 3 glasses of wine on an evening that all adds up. So that's going well as well, and I'm feeling a little bit more energetic than a month ago. So
Well done. Well done, man.
thank you.
I
Thank
wish I
you.
could
Yes.
do the same. For those of you that are on the audio feed, obviously you can't see, but I've definitely got a bit of a beer belly happening here, and it's not an easy thing to shift. I will say that.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah. Everyone finds it different in different ways. Difficult or easy. I tend to be able to yo-yo a little bit, which is good in one direction and not great in the other.
Mm. I wouldn't mind, but I don't even drink beer, so I don't know where the beer belly comes from. It's like
Amazing.
yeah,
Shall we move on to a bit of TV, film, and books? What have you been? I was going
yeah,
to say
sure.
dipping into, but I think you've gone hard. So
Yeah, so with regards to books, I'm still working through the Wheel of Time series that I mentioned on the last episode. I finally finished book 7, and I'm now on to book 8 of 14, about 30% of the way through that. So, the pattern that I was doing last month, where climb into bed, turn on the Kindle, read a page, fall asleep, next night read the same page, fall asleep. I've been pushing through that and getting a lot more of that reading done. And I think the story is picking up. It might have just been that those books in the middle were the slow ones that Brian referred to previously. So it's a bit more interesting and seems to be moving a lot faster than it was before. That's really all on the reading front, though. On the watching front, we tend to have membership on all of the streaming services that are available down here in Australia. And so I've spread the love across each of those. There was a couple of things on Apple TV, Shrinking Season 2. Have you watched Shrinking before?
I haven't. I think it's on a list though. I'm actually going to be writing these down because I love a TV recommendation.
It's got Jason Segel, who is in How I Met Your Mother.
Okay.
And he's the younger psychologist in this practice, and then Harrison Ford is the old psychologist, but he's got Parkinson's.
Okay.
And so the two of them are playing off against each other, and one is always very involved with the clients, and the other's very standoffish, and just that dynamic of how that all works. And they're also going through their own stuff in personal lives as well. So this is season 2 that we watched. I made the mistake when I was watching it, though, of just hitting the button to say, continue watching from where I was watching before.
Yeah.
And for some reason, it played the last episode of season 2 first. So I watched the last episode and I thought, that seemed weird. There was a bit of a jump from what I remember from the first season. And then the next episode started, and it was like none of that episode had happened. And I thought, have they done like a look back? What's going on here?
Yeah,
so for the whole season, I was sitting watching it going, why are they talking about that when we know how it works out? Dumbass just watched it the wrong way around,
Oh, that is gutting. Yeah.
The other thing, obviously, Fallout Season 2 came to an end, so I've watched all of that on Amazon Prime. And then Disney Plus, Wonder Man. I think Paul from last season might have mentioned it on one of our Facebook chats that it was out and it was good to watch. So I sat and watched that, and it was one of the better Marvel ones I've watched so far. It was quite a good season to watch. It's not all big explosions. There's it's a lot of the personal dynamic between the two main characters, but a really good season, a really good series so far. Yeah, and then movie-wise, Oppenheimer, finally got to watch that.
Oh, wow. You must have set aside a day to do that then.
Oh, geez, it was a long one, wasn't it? Yeah. Very long. My son is a massive, what's his name, Christopher Nolan fan. And so, he loves all of the Dark Knight trilogy. He loves Oppenheimer. Yeah. He loves, everything this guy does. So we had to sit down and watch it for family movie night. And then after that, he said to me, "Oh, Dad, if you get a chance, you have to watch Memento," which is the one from was it the 90s? I'd just never watched it.
The guy out of Neighbours. Yeah.
So I sat and watched that this morning, And man, that is a good movie.
It is
I
a
really
brilliant
enjoyed the
movie.
twist
Yeah,
on the end of
yeah,
that one. You know,
yeah.
just the way the whole dynamic shifted, and you realize that from scene to scene, it's all being shot out of order, and you have to
Mm,
watch how his car's slowly degenerating and how he's degenerating, and all the people around him are all getting cuts and bruises and things to figure out where each scene fits into the timeline. I think
yeah,
was
yeah,
a very interesting way of doing it. And
yeah.
then the
Very
last movie I
clever.
watched was one called One Battle After Another, which is that's the one that was up for all the awards last year. It's
Okay.
what's the guy's name? Oh man, DiCaprio, Leonardo DiCaprio.
Okay. Yep.
Brilliant, brilliant movie. Really good.
Mm,
If you get a chance, sit down and watch it. It's well worth the effort. It's not at
lovely.
all what I thought. I thought it was going to be like a Quentin Tarantino thing, but
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
there was very little violence. It was all just DiCaprio being a pothead who couldn't remember all of his past life and just frantically trying to figure out what the hell was going on, you know? So, really good movie. So that's
Great.
pretty much all that I managed to get through this month. What
Okay.
about yourself?
Yeah. So I think last month in the books, on the books front, I was reading Wolf Hall, and I mentioned it was quite heavy. I've got about halfway through it. Literally every character's called Stephen. It's back from Henry VIII time. So I'd be reading these chapters when Stephen's talking to Stephen, and then another Stephen comes in and interrupts and says, "Oh, what's going on with Stephen?" I've fallen off it. I've thought I'm struggling with this, and I'm not enjoying it as much as I should. So I'm going to put it down because it's a massive book. So I just thought, I'm not hating it, but I'm only really staying with it because I know what happens because history.
Yeah.
And so I moved on and I completely pivoted and I picked up, I've got these lovely kind of collected books of fables, which I don't know whether you've heard of, or certainly, I mean, the game The Wolf Among Us
Mm-hmm.
is based on the Fables comic. So it's all your fairy tale characters, Big Bad Wolf and Snow White and all of that lot in a modern day setting where they're trying to essentially kind of keep their kind of true identities secret and live amongst humans as if they are human.
Okay.
And it's an absolutely great comic. So I picked that back up and read through the first collection I'd got of that and thought, oh, I really like this. And off the back of what Brian was saying last month about trying to find the right kind of service to consume manga and comics and that kind of stuff, I went down the rabbit hole of checking out some things, and I've landed on, I mean, it started with a week of free subscription to DC Infinite,
Mm-hmm.
and then I think they charge something like $6.99 a month. So I thought, well, I'll have my week, I'll get into something new, and if I'm enjoying it, then I can throw out $6.99 a month for a couple of months while I get through something. So I googled away and looked for the best kind of comic series, and landed on a thing called Y the Last Man, as in the letter Y, the Last Man, and it is just based on an event that happens to the Earth. This is not spoilers. This is the beginning of comic one, where all of the men in the world, apart from one, die in some kind of freak virus outbreak or whatever, and then following the adventures of the one remaining guy, and it throws up all of the obvious kind of issues that you're going to have with that, which is, okay, so if the world's going to repopulate, he's going to be a busy chap, that kind of stuff. And it's absolutely brilliant. So I've read the first 21 issues of that, and I think it runs for about 60 or 70. So I've got my teeth well and truly into that, and it is so much easier than reading about all of the Stevens. So I've had a good time with that. I mentioned I'd been to the cinema and just watched the one movie this month, and it was called, again, a little bit of a nod to Brian. So he's been quite influential, even though he's not here today. I watched a thing called Little Amelie, or The Character of Rain, which is it's an animated movie, and I was trying to find this thing to watch that I wanted to watch, but also would be good for the kids on my
Mm-hmm.
birthday. And it was really, really good. So it's all shot. It's based in Japan, and your classic kind of arty, nice music, nice dialogue. Some of the characters were a little bit annoying, but it was a really nice time spent, and just like a film that just dips into a family's life and is kind of about what it's like to be a kid when you can't communicate, and then relationships with adults and babysitters and stuff like that. So
Okay.
that was really good fun. And then on the TV front, I've had a wild journey. So you mentioned Fallout, which is something I've not ever seen, and in fact I've barely played the Fallout series, but I obviously understand the setting. So last night I thought I'd dip in and have a little look at the Fallout series, and just watched the first episode of season 1, and I was very, very impressed with it. Very, very impressed. So I think I'll be taking in some more of that. The Apprentice has started in the UK again. So this is Alan Sugar. It's, reality telly where you get 20 idiots that think they're God's gift going in and trying to impress him. And I always watch The Apprentice because they've got this kind of idea of project management and what it means.
Yeah.
And it's semi-adjacent to the work that I do. I'm essentially a thing called a Scrum Master, which is almost the antithesis of a project manager. You're going for the same outcomes, but trying to do it from a completely different angle. And so I watch The Apprentice and watch all of these people just deferring to the project manager as if they're the king or the queen. And then when they make the mistakes, just everybody blaming each other. So I watch it, and I do a lot of shouting at the telly about how absolutely awful everyone is, and it should be a team effort, and why are you placing all this emphasis on one person? I watched a truly harrowing series called Monster: The Ed Gein Story, which is where Psycho and Chainsaw Massacre got their inspiration from true life. And it's just the most horrific television ever. So I think we'd watched the Dharma. I don't know if you've heard of it, the Dharma one, which is another mass murderer kind of story. And that was produced really well. I mean, it was really, really sick and disturbing, but it was somehow entertaining. Whereas this one was just sick. So there's this guy digging up bodies, murdering people, chucking in a bit of paedophilia, all of the, just sitting there in front of the telly, just thinking, what am I doing? This is absolutely horrific.
Wow.
So off the back of that, it was like, okay, I think it was 8 episodes. So once we'd got through about 5, it was like, well, we've got to watch it to a conclusion. I did that, not massively satisfying, and then moved on to one of my favourite comedies, which is Parks and Recreation, which is just based in small town America, a Parks and Recreation kind of local government department. So we rewatched the first 2 seasons of that, and it is just absolutely adorable. Every single character is funny in their own way, and it's a complete breath of fresh air. So that was the antidote to watching terrifying monster programs. Crazy.
Yeah. You need to balance them out, don't you?
Exactly. So it's been a month of balance, just balancing out deep reading with comics and dark telly with light telly. So
my son's a big fan of the DC subscription service as well. He read through every single one of the Batman ones available on there, and he moved on to the Red Hood, and so he's slowly working his way through the entire DC superhero catalog.
Yeah.
And certainly getting his money's worth out of it. Yeah, there's tons there. Quite often he'll come home from work because he works at the local casino, and I'll say to him, was it a busy day? And he'll be like, nah, there was nobody there. So I just sat and just read my DC subscription. It's like, oh, well, great. As long as you're getting paid for it,
Yeah, superb. Paying for his subscription in real time. It's brilliant.
Yeah.
Super. Right. Shall we move on to some games? Yeah. I understand from your updates through the month that you have been a very busy chap. So let's hear about it.
I don't view myself as having had a very busy month, but it does certainly look like a lot got completed. So this month I went back to Clear Obscure 33. and I'm still not at the point where I'm able to, parry and block effectively enough to beat this boss. So I'm still hammering through that and trying to get past there. I put that to one side and I fired up Baldur's Gate 3 again. Managed to get past the spot I was stuck at. Played another maybe 10 hours of that. And got through a couple of set pieces before I hit another wall. And so that held me up for a little while. I've now finally got to the point where I'm at Baldur's Gate, the town. So let's see how we keep going there. And then
when you hit the wall in that.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah. When you hit the wall in that, is it a case of, because I've played a bit of it and I haven't reached any super walls yet. Do you have to kind of go elsewhere and grind, or is it a case of replaying the section that you've just done and trying a different strategy?
It's a little bit of trying a different strategy and, cheesing it and hoping that they don't all attack you at once and that one of them gets stuck behind a wall for 2 moves and that gives you the leg up to actually take them out before they nail your team, And then a lot of it is just down to what spells they manage to cast and take out your team. Because if you get hit by a stun spell on the first throw, then that's it. You're basically doomed, It was a little bit of that. And so, I'll keep going through it. And I mean, the story is just massive. There's so much going on. And when you look at the quest lists, it just becomes overwhelming at some point, because there's just so much to do. But it's certainly got a lot of scope, and it's a really good game. So I'm going to continue with that one. I then started to look at my A to Z type approach of playing games from the start and games from the end to get a bit of a mix up there. And I ended up picking Arcade Paradise, which I'd never played before. It had 0 hours played on my list. I managed to get to the end of that. I unlocked all of the upgrades. I went back and I tried to play as many of the trophies as possible, and then realized that game is buggy as all hell when it comes to dishing out trophies. You can do the trophy target 10 times and it just doesn't fire. So I think I've got about maybe 60% of the trophies on it, and there's 4 or 5 of them that just never fired, which I can't go back and do without playing the game all the way through again. So that was a little bit annoying. I have my usual weekly Wreckfest game that I play with my local buddies. Still garbage on that. Just utter garbage on it. I just cannot get into that game. But it's loads of fun.
I was going to say, is it the kind of game where if you're garbage at it, it doesn't matter, it's still great fun? Is that how it kind of works out?
Yeah, a little bit. You can still take out everybody and manage to smash them to bits, and they can manage to smash you to bits, even if you end up coming last. So, you don't have to be the best driver in the world. Contra Rogue Corps is one I've been playing for a little while, and it doesn't feel like a very well fleshed out game. You're just going through these levels and just shooting everything that comes at you, but it's fun. So I played a little bit of that, a couple of hours, and then moved on. And then I picked up what's probably the biggest mistake of the month, which was Yooka-Laylee. I'd heard good things about the game. Yeah. I started it and absolutely hated it. I gave it the usual, 2 hours just to get into the game and figure out the controls, and after that, I just had to uninstall it and ignore the fact that it ever existed, because it just did nothing at all for me. The audio was annoying, the graphics were glitchy, the gameplay itself was fairly basic, and I realize I'm not the target audience for it, but I just did not enjoy that game at all. And then because I'm a bit of an arsehole, I decided, what else have I got in the Y categories? And the only other thing I had in Y category was the other Yooka-Laylee game, which was Yooka-Laylee and the Impossible Lair. Yeah. And that was less annoying. It's more of a side scroller. It's not full 3D. So I started playing that, and even though I didn't enjoy it, I managed to complete that. Rolled credits, put it to one side, it's done. Never to be played again.
That is such a bold move, going from ukulele that you hated to then just picking up another ukulele game and thinking this time it will be better. But well done.
Yep. And then I went back to the beginning of the alphabet and I picked up Air Memories of Old, which looked like nothing to start with. You know, when I fired it up, I thought, what is this all about? And it turned out you get, I mean, the feel of it. It's a 3D sort of. You're a character that can convert itself into a bird, and you got to fly around these islands and do various things. I mean, it's nothing like those games, but it gave me Journey vibes. It gave me Grist vibes. It gave me Eco vibes. You know, just something about all of those three games just seemed to manifest in this game itself. And it was a very short game. I mean, you can complete it within an hour and a half. Right. So I finished that off and realized that I hadn't completed all of the trophies on that. So I went back and I platinumed it.
Wow.
And it took 3 hours tops, you know? So certainly one that if it's on your list and you want to get some completions under the belt, Air Memories of Old is a candidate you should be looking at.
Right.
And then after that, I decided to go back and look at Ben's recommendation again of digging out the Spectrum. And I thought, I'm not going to dig out my ZX Spectrum again this month. I did it last month. I'm not going to be turning it on too often. So I used my Spectrum emulator that's sitting on my desktop here. And I fired up Saberwolf and managed to complete that as well.
Amazing.
For the first time in how many years? I mean, the game's only been out for better part of 40 years. So that was it. In February, completed Ukulele and the Possible Lair, Arcade Paradise, Air Memories of Old, and Saberwolf.
Fantastic. That's very good. Tell me a bit about the gameplay in Arcade Paradise, because I've downloaded that and I've downloaded Air based on you playing it. So they're both lined up. But I'm just interested in how it plays.
It's actually two games in one, Arcade Paradise. The first one, you're managing the laundry. And so you have to make sure that you're completing laundry services in time to get the bonuses, to make the money. And then you invest that money in buying more arcade machines. And so you gradually expand the arcade area and reduce the laundry area until eventually the laundry disappears completely and it's all arcade games. And at that point, the gameplay then just becomes, can you complete the tasks that are needed in order to unlock the next upgrade to yourself? And whether the upgrade is, you buy a car, so you have to take the bus to work every day, and therefore you got more hours in the day you can work, or whether you're buying shoes that make you run faster, or a watch that does something different, or you're buying a book that makes the arcade machines break down less. Those are all the upgrades you're trying to work through in order to keep these things running. But in order to get those upgrades, you need to play each of the games. And so each game is obviously like a classic arcade game. You'll have a Frogger variant and an Arkanoid variant and a couple of shooters and some racers. And so there's an awful lot to do there. It's my favorite has got to be one of the little arcade games you pick up as a game called Barkanoid. And it's an Arkanoid clone. So, bat and ball, except you're a sausage dog. And so when the bat extenders come down, it just makes the sausage dog get longer and longer. So he's running around, barking, bouncing this ball up and down, try to hit the bricks,
That's
so fun little games, Have a look at it, see what you think.
Yeah. Fantastic.
Yep. And I'd be keen to see what you think of Air as well.
Yeah, I'll definitely play that one, because once I start feeling guilty about not finishing stuff, that sounds like just the perfect candidate.
You can do it before breakfast, yeah.
Shall I go on to my stuff then this
please.
month? So it's not a long list, but we'll go through it anyway. I think every month I'm going to mention Rocket League and Arc Raiders, so I'll keep it brief. I have been playing quite a lot of Rocket League this month. I think when I when I'm not sort of super into any particular game, that ends up being my go-to. I'll just play this for half an hour. I'd set myself the goal of getting to champion rank at some point this year, just to give it a bit of structure rather than just playing a evergreen game and not achieving anything. I thought I'd set myself a proper goal. So playing it a little bit more seriously and having a less kind of wreckfest approach to Rocket League and a bit more of a strategic, let's actually try and get the win here. I got myself, so the way the ranks work, I think I went through all of the ranks last time, but I'm in Diamond at the moment. Champ is the next rank up, and basically every 2 wins, and it has to be like a net 2 wins, so 2 wins in a row or win 3, lose 1. Every kind of net 2 wins, you move up a sub rank. So there's Diamond 1, 2, and 3, and 4. No, Diamond 1, 2, and 3, and then within each of those 3 sub ranks, there's 4 sub ranks as well. So it's something like, if you do, so it's 4, 8, 12, 8, 16, 20, something like 24 net wins to get through the whole of Diamond rank. And I got myself within 4 wins of getting to champ rank after really going at it and getting quite a lot of wins. So I'd got 20 of those 24 kind of net wins. And then of course, because I solo queue in a duos lobby, it's just up to the lap of the gods. Sometimes you're paired with somebody who's way better than you. Sometimes you're paired with somebody who's AFK. And I got so close, and then I've just tumbled back down, which is always the way. So my plan is, I've just got to kind of swing higher and just hope to just touch into champ at some point. So I'm back to where I started, but a lot of fun in the process. I'll talk to you every month about Arc Raiders. I've been playing a lot of that. I've been playing a lot of that with Ben from last year's podcast. So I think early in February we became weeknight buddies, where there'd be a little message go onto Messenger, I'm in Speranza, anybody around? And so we paired up on, probably since last recording, I don't know, 5 times we've paired up on an evening and just run some raids together and had some really good fun with it. And it's been good, actually, because I think when I first played with Ben, he'd only got a couple of hours into the game. And so was going through that initial, I'm super underpowered and everything's super frightening. And then within a few weeks, he's ranked up, his confidence has gone up. The same with me, I'm progressing as well. So the kind of activities that we're doing in our raids are so different this week to 3 weeks ago, where we're going and we're finding the biggest thing that we can take on and giving it hell. So that's been a whole lot of fun. So much fun that I've broken my Azeron. So I've got this input device, which obviously audio listeners won't be able to see, but I think I showed it last time. This input device that essentially you put your hand into, and there's keys all over the place that you can map to do the various things. But there's one of the buttons that I basically have to press the whole unit kind of sideways. It has the pivot sideways, and that's the change shoulder that I'm using the gun on.
Okay.
And I've just used that so hard playing Arc Raiders that I've sheared through the little plastic thing that holds it together. So now if I swap shoulders, then the whole thing falls apart. Luckily, I've got some bits sent across from the Ukraine to do a repair. So I think after we've done this recording, I'll repair it and I'll be back in the game.
Right. For the audio listeners, it looks like something out of the start of Terminator, I think Terminator 2, they built the Terminator from that hand, didn't they?
It is a fantastic device. It is really, really good. Any game with kind of complex keybinds where you want your actions to be seamless, so whether it's reloading, swapping shoulders, crouching, that kind of thing. I think there's nothing, for me, as an unskilled keyboard and mouse kind of player, there's nothing that breaks the immersion more in the middle of a firefight than pulling out the little keyboard drawer, looking down, trying to work out which button it is to do the thing that you need to do immediately, and then finding yourself dead by the time you look back up. So it has been a game changer. And then I've tried 3 new games from the backlog this month. So number 1 is a game called Silt, Silt. and it's a kind of mysterious underwater puzzle platformer is the best way to describe it. It's kind of similar in vibe to things like Limbo, and I've had a good time with it. It's I think it's got a few kind of pacing problems. Like I found myself crazy stuff. Like the whole screen is dark, you're underwater, everything's dark and bleak. There's some kind of mysterious, almost Cthulhu style creatures knocking around, and you basically go around. You're a diver, but you can sort of mind control fish that you encounter. So you'll swim along, and within the first few minutes, some fish will come and just gobble you up, and you're dead. And then you learn that, okay, actually, if you can mind control it before it eats you, then you can take over being the fish. And then you can, if you're that fish, you can then chew through some stuff and unlock a pathway. And then there's other things like you can swim fish into poisonous underwater plants, and then the fish carries the poison, and then you can take that fish to another fish that would have been too hard to deal with unless it's eaten a poisoned fish, and so on. So it's got some really nice ideas, but just some of the sections are really, really obtuse, where there's multiple paths and you're not sure whether you're meant to do them all, or whether it's a bit Metroidvania where you go down a path and you can't do it until you've done something else first. So it was a bit of a kind of 6 out of 10 for me, and I've got a little way into it, and I'm wondering about going back. It's one of those when I'm doing my streaming, I find nothing more anxiety inducing than being super stuck on a puzzler game, because I'm conscious that if I'm broadcasting, and if somebody goes and makes their dinner and eats their dinner and watches a movie and then comes back and sees how I'm doing, if I'm still stuck on the same puzzle, it's I'm conscious it's not great entertainment. So I'll put that one down for now. I've picked up Papers, Please, which I'm sure lots of the community will have played at some point or other, and it's a game that I'd probably put 45 minutes into in previous years, many years ago. And I picked it up again, and it's interesting because I think the first time I played it, I didn't quite understand what it was trying to do or what I was supposed to do. So you're put into this game in a fantastical Russian state, essentially, as a border control person, and you've got people coming to your desk offering you their passport, and then you have to make a judgment about whether you're going to let them into your state or not. And I couldn't quite work out whether it was going to be a bit of a social experiment thing where you knew you were meant to let certain people in and not let other people in, but whether you needed to listen to their story and potentially bend the rules if you felt a bit of empathy with those people and wanted to give them safe passage. So first time around, I just couldn't work it out. It's like, am I letting people through? Am I meant to be letting people through, or am I meant to just be doing my desk job and doing it correctly? So this time round, I played it more and got right into it, and it is absolutely brilliant. So you've got a long-running plot. So on day one, you're given some very clear instructions about who can come through, who cannot come through. And the job is to just apply those rules. So it feels a bit like busy work. You're checking, which state have they come from? Is it on a banned list of states? Are the dates, do they line up? And do the different bits of paperwork have the same reference on, that kind of thing? Sounds really boring, but you do it, and then at the end of the day, something happens, and then it transitions from one day to the next with a new, fresh newspaper with news, a new briefing note from kind of head office, and you're given a different rule set every day based on things that happen. So sometimes there might be a terrorist attack, and then there's other particular states are not allowed in, or particular states now need an entry pass or various different types of documents. And how it all ends up playing is that it's a crazy race against time. So it just isn't the game I thought it was. I thought it was a very kind of cerebral, just sit and play it at your own pace. But essentially the clock is ticking. So it's almost a little bit like that last level of Viewfinder we talked about last month. The clock is ticking. If you don't stamp the passports and get things right, you don't earn any money, and you're trying to maintain a family, you're trying to pay for the heating, you're trying to pay for their food, this kind of thing, and you only get the pay if you get your do your job right. So you end up having to try and review all these documents really, really fast. And every day there's more and more conditions. So it just becomes an absolute scramble of kind of mental gymnastics to get through it.
And
so I had an absolute...
Sorry,
That's okay.
Do the rules compound day on day?
Yes.
Okay. Right. So
the
it's not a whole new rule set.
Day.
Okay.
No. So you've got pre-existing rules, and then more rules added on top of it, and then some dark and weird things start to happen. So it's not just people coming in with safe passage, but looking for safe passage, but you get people who just come and submit like complete forgeries, and then somebody will come in and just give you a little flyer for a lap dancing club, and you're like, what is happening here? And then somebody will come in and give you an envelope and say, okay, somebody's going to come tomorrow and they're going to ask for this, but you need to give them this envelope instead of this envelope. And so they're dropping little memory challenges for the following day. And then somebody came along and said, okay, this person's going to come tomorrow, and if they do, and you do this, then I'll give you $1,000. So I was kind of like, okay, we're paying like $20 a day for our heating here. And the whole thing's a constant battle. And so I was like, well, I'll definitely do that. But then that all unraveled, and I started getting under investigation from the police and stuff like that. So there's all these little things that are dropped in to kind of tempt you. And I think you can navigate your way through them, but things can unravel pretty damn quickly. So I had an amazing time with that. I think there's 20 different endings to the game. Oh. So it's one of those that I think it will take a lot of replaying to experience them all. I've gotten three endings. I've run out of money. My whole family's died of illness, freezing cold, and starved to death. And I've been arrested. I've had my family arrested, all to do with these financial irregularities. And there's 17 more endings to experience. So on the face of it, I've had a brilliant time, and I feel like I've finished it in various different ways. But a completionist would have a lot of fun going through and exploring all the things. And there's one other thing. So it creates, for each new game you play, it creates a timeline and essentially saves at the end of each day. So when you go into your load game menu, it's not just a case of picking up your last saved game or a save file. You can navigate through this kind of tree of stuff, and you can choose on which day of which save you want to resume, and it kind of lists down the stats of where you're at. So, for instance, where I took my $1,000 slightly shady bribe and then ended up getting arrested and my family slammed in jail too, I could go back to that save, and I could go back to the day before and not take the bribe, or I could go back to having just taken the bribe and see if I can work my way through the madness in a different way. So I guess it's quite forgiving in the sense that you can play it like that as well. So a brilliant time with that. And then the last thing I've picked up, and this was just a wonderful surprise to find it in my backlog, was Mafia 2 Definitive Edition, which is a game. So I played the first Mafia. I think I played the remastered version of it. I played that last year and absolutely loved it. Just like watching a gangster movie, a lot of cutscenes, usual kind of character tropes, but brilliantly written. And I was just scouring through the backlog, and I wasn't even doing the picking A or picking Z thing. I was just like, I need to find something that takes my fancy. And right in the middle there, under the M's, was Mafia 2. And it's one of these games, genuinely didn't know I had it at all. So, Year of Shame, congrats for uncovering these things. So I've been playing Mafia 2. It's very good. The same sort of thing, well written, a really good gangster story. I think it's about 15 chapters long. I've gone through 6 of those chapters this week. So it's probably, I don't know, a 15, 20 hour game. So I'm getting towards halfway and really loving it. The combat's a little bit janky. It's quite difficult. It's got a kind of cover mechanism, which seems a little bit a bit binary. You're right. You you can't really poke out of cover and take a shot without getting hit. You're always left out long enough to take some hits. But and it does some weird things where sometimes you can't progress in a level because you have to kill all of the AI. And if an AI's gotten stuck somewhere in the map behind a door, even if it was 10 minutes ago, you just can't progress to the next bit. And so you have to sort of backtrack and work out, okay, somebody must be stuck somewhere. And again, that's a lucky thing, because I was on the stream and I was trying to make an escape from the police, and I'd run up the stairs of this building, got onto the roof. It was really obviously signposted that I needed to just step out onto the ledge of this roof and then kind of shimmy along. But it just would not let me do it. And somebody just came into my chat and said, "Oh yeah, there'll be a policeman on the stairs." And sure enough, back down the stairs. Oh yeah, somebody's a bit stuck in the wall. Pop them in the head, and then off we go. So a couple of little things that aren't quite right about it, but it's super, and it's very much like Grand Theft Auto. So there's quite a lot of driving around that you do in these beautiful kind of historic cars, and it's got radio channels, and it's playing all this kind of like great kind of jazz music from, I don't know, Prohibition era. So it's really, really good, and I've enjoyed that a lot.
Cool.
So I'm not like you. I haven't been completing loads of games, but I have enjoyed what I've done.
Yeah, that's the important thing, you know?
Exactly. Shall we, whilst we're on games, shall we stay on the games and have a little look forward to things that have either just come out or things that are coming out soon that might be making you feel a little bit sad?
Yeah, you know, again, there's not a lot there that I'm sort of looking at and going, oh man, why this year? The Marathon, I know I commented on Marathon's graphic style last episode. I mean, it sort of looks like it could be fairly good, and that comes out in March.
5th of March.
Yeah, but again, it's probably not something I would have picked up day one. So it's not going to keep me awake at night knowing that I didn't get the chance to buy it this year. One of the things that is coming out this year, this next month, which is interesting me, is a game called Screamer. I don't know if you can remember way back in the late 1990s. There was a PC game that came out, and this was the days when 3DFX had just been released. And it was a car racing game called Screamer. This is what I think is a remake of it, and it looks like it's still got the same sort of look and feel. They've wrapped some anime style video capture stuff around the front of it to give it a storyline, which the old one didn't have. But at its heart, it's a racer. It's a racer where you can destroy other cars as you're driving around. So that one looks interesting to me, but again, it's not something that I'm that fussed that I'm not going to get to play this year.
Yeah.
There is a game coming out on the 19th of March, which, to all intents and purposes, none of us would have looked at. And it's called Mouse PI for Hire. Have you seen the videos for this one?
I have not. It's given me Chicken Detective vibes, but
yeah. Now imagine if Doom or Quake, or any of these first-person shooters, you got to play as what was the original version of Mickey Mouse? The one where Steamboat Willie.
Wow.
That's what it looks like. It's a first-person shooter where you're a mouse going around and shooting some very Disney-looking baddies, but it looks like good fun,
It looks amazing. It's it's like it's beautiful. It's sort of Cuphead vibes a little bit, but like sort of 3D sort of Cuphead. It's brilliant cartoon.
And all in black and white.
Mm.
Yeah. So those are the only things that are coming out in the next month that I had an interest in.
Yeah.
But nothing that's going to make me want to, have a klaxon going off. Having said that, though.
Oh.
There's no klaxon sound that we need to put in this episode. Don't worry. Well, not from me anyway. But you mentioned that you just had a birthday. My birthday is this time next week.
Okay.
And my local mates they're insistent that there's going to be gifts incoming. And I've said, look, you guys can buy me whatever gift you want, but be aware, I don't have to play it this year. Yeah, so you can buy it. If I don't play it, it doesn't count as my gift, right? Mm-hmm. I'm hoping that's how everybody else is understanding this.
I think that's fine. If people want to try and stitch you up and you show the resilience to just file it away for 2027, I think that's absolutely fine.
Because there's two ways it could go. Either they'll buy me Battlefield 6, because that's what they're all playing. These are the same guys I play Wreckfest with. In which case, I would probably accept it, so I could play with them on a Thursday, and we'd have a klaxon next episode.
That would be a big klaxon, yeah.
Or they will buy me Barbie's Dream House, because they're bastards and they know that that's a gift that's,
And you play that in the beer klaxon, and it would be the greatest klaxon that's ever been played.
Yeah, so we'll see. But I expect that, by this time next week, there will be at least something that has to be considered as a gift.
Yeah. Have you got any plans for your birthday apart from playing Barbie's Dream House?
No, not at all. I've had 56 birthdays already, so one more is not going to make any big difference. It'll be a fairly muted affair with the family, and that'll be it.
Nice.
Yeah.
So games coming out. I've written down a few things that are of interest. So you mentioned Marathon. I'm going to file Marathon under $30 saved. So it had quite a lot of bad press over the last 6 months or so. In the last 4 weeks, there's been quite a lot of excitement, and it is the classic pre-launch hype cycle that is going on. So I think they've released some trailer videos that actually look very, very impressive. And knowing myself, I would 100% have got snapped up in that kind of hype. And I would probably, in the next 7 days, it comes out March 5th, in the next 7 days, I can guarantee that if I wasn't doing the Year of Shame, that I would 100% have pre-ordered it based on that little shortwave of hype. And I'd play it on launch day and get very excited about it, realise that I'm not very good at first-person shooters, and it would have gone onto that backlog for a future year. So it would have been a definite purchase, and almost certainly a definite regret as well. And then a couple of other games coming out that I would almost certainly have bought if I wasn't doing this thing. One of them is Planet of Lana 2. So this the first one came to Game Pass not so long ago. I feel like it was probably within the last 18 months. I might be wrong. And again, this was a kind of limbo side-scrolling, slightly mysterious puzzle adventure kind of thing. And it was absolutely beautifully done. It's like it looked beautiful, and all the sounds are really good. And again, it's like a kind of 4 or 5 hour kind of game, and I would absolutely have loved to play the second one. So that will be on a little list of things to go shopping on at 1 minute past midnight, I think. Mugenics has come out in the last week, which is a cat-based it's made by, and I'm going to forget because I've got an old brain. What's the one with the baby running around firing its tears as weapons? Oh my word.
Nope, I've got no idea there.
No, it's so bad. Everyone will be shouting at their phones going, oh, you don't even know what that's called. Anyway, made by the same developers as another brilliant game. And a couple of other things that I probably wouldn't have bought, but they're quite big. So Resident Evil Requiem is coming out very soon. I think Brian is sorely tempted by the DLC for Ghost of Yotai, which comes out next month.
He is, yep.
To the point where he's been asking for clarification about DLC rules. I'm not sure he's going to get a favourable verdict there.
Oh no, I gave him a verdict. I said that he's welcome to play it for free as long as he platinums the original game.
Oh, is it? It's free. Yeah. Okay. As long as he platinums, that seems fair. And then one other thing, actually, that I would have been interested in. So, Slay the Spire 2 is coming out in early access during next month, which I definitely would have enjoyed a dabble at, but I'll just have to stay off it. And then the last thing, I always torture myself a little bit by looking at what's coming out on Xbox Game Pass, and Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 is coming to Game Pass. So if I hadn't had to cancel my lovely Game Pass Ultimate subscription for the purposes of this, then that would have been downloaded and played. Not this time.
I think that was one that Paul from last year pointed out. Is it's got a free upgrade to PS5 if you own it on PS4.
Interesting.
So it gets the high-res updates and all the wonderful new stuff that's in the PS5 version as a free upgrade. So that's nice to see that they're still doing that for games that came from the PS4 era.
Yeah, fair dues. Shall we move on to the news?
Yes, we have an awful lot of news this month. So a lot of it came out today, though. One of the things I did notice at the beginning of the month, though, was that the Grammys now have a podcast award that they give out every year. So I know we didn't win it last year, but fingers crossed we get it next year. Watch this space. So that was the very first news article that I'd recorded as of interest since our last recording. Something that might interest you guys that own a Steam Deck is that Nexus mods are now available on the Steam Deck.
Oh, really?
So any games that have got Nexus mods for them, you can now easily get activated on your deck without having to do a lot of fiddling. The guy that made The Last of Us and Chernobyl for HBO, he's now signed up to do a Baldur's Gate series.
Yes.
Which, if it's the same quality as those two, could be quite an interesting watch, I think.
For sure.
Did you see the announcement for a game called Project Windless?
I've heard people talking about Project Windless.
It's the strangest thing I've ever seen. Imagine God of War, where you're a human-sized muscular chicken. It's like, why a chicken? I mean, I think it's based on, legendary stories from somewhere, but it's a very strange-looking game. The No Man's Sky. Did you see the new version of that is dropping soon?
Is it dropping
Remnant?
soon? I was coincidentally was watching somebody streaming No Man's Sky, and every time I either dip back in or watch somebody else dipping back in, the game has changed so fundamentally since I liked it on launch, but it just seems different every time I look at it.
Every single time. There's been so much love given to it to make it what they'd originally promised. I think it might be out already. No Man's Sky Remnant. And you can now got vehicles that you can build. You can do missions on different planets, cleaning up of environmental disasters and things like that. There's a lot of stuff there new that you're right makes it a very different game to what was originally launched. And then we come to today's news, and it's been an interesting day. So the Phil Spector and his second in command have both stepped down from
massive,
Xbox. That's huge.
Massive.
So I don't know quite how that's going to turn out, but that's a big deal, And then in terms of other news, there's been some kickback or pushback on the shutting down of Bluepoint by Sony, to the point where some of the PS5 fans are now indicating that they'll be boycotting Marathon when it's launched, which could end up quite badly for Bungie, because Bungie are next with their heads on the chopping block after Bluepoint, I think.
Why are they targeting Marathon? Is there a link, or is it just to get at PlayStation?
I think it's just to get at PlayStation. And we know that Bungie are, if you look at the lifespan for Destiny, and you look at everything else that they've produced, all of that's coming to its end of life now. So if Marathon's not a success, they're not really going to have a whole lot to keep them around, So that would be interesting to keep an eye on there. It's just see how that all turns out. And then Ubisoft, who seem to be going through a whole bunch of, shutting things down and cancelling various bits and pieces, came out today and assured us that there is at least one new Far Cry, possibly two, and at least two Assassin's Creed games coming out soon. The Assassin's Creed game we know are going to be the Black Flag remake and Assassin's Creed Hex. The Far Cry ones, I haven't seen any news about where the location is going to be, or whether they're going to be, mainstream Far Cry, or one of these weird sort of repackagings that they do. They take the same game.
Blood Dragon?
Blood Dragon was good, yep. And what was the one where you were in the Stone Age?
Motorbikey. Yes.
Blood Dragon had the motorbike version, but the Far Cry Blood Dragon was the one that was like an 80s action movie.
Yes. Yeah.
It was all fluoro and, very gung-ho American action hero type language that was used in the game. Loads of fun.
Yeah. Amazing.
So that's all the news that I had for this month.
Yeah, I can't believe. Well, you've had the benefit of having a day, so I've just got up out of bed for this recording, and you've been consuming the Xbox news. So I'm still a little bit shell shocked when you mentioned that just before we started recording, and I'm thinking back to the absolute mess that Xbox was in prior to Phil Spencer taking the helm, and you can argue whether Xbox have done well under his tenure or not. I mean, I think he's revitalized them, and they probably would have been doomed without his influence. But the fact that they're now going to be going on without him, I think it gives big questions, especially with next gen coming up. It to me, it smells of I don't know whether he's pushed or he jumped, but it smells of him not fancying the next gen and what it has got in store, because otherwise I think he'd be wanting to stay. Even if he didn't stay through the generation, he'd want to stay and launch it. And you mentioned one of the reasons why things might be a little bit iffy in terms of the next gen.
Yeah, so it's not just Phil that's leaving, it's Phil and I think his second in command, Sarah Bond. They both stepped down today, and they've been replaced by the Microsoft lead of AI division, who, that sounds like they're planning some things that nobody really wants,
Yeah, that is scary stuff. Scary stuff.
Yeah.
Good. Well, shocking news abound. Shall we move straight on to the questions? Which I've got to say, Stuart, I appreciate that you've noted them all down. So rather than us reaching desperately for the phones and trying to work out what's going on, you've pasted them all into a lovely little table. So it's very easy for me to go through them. So I think what I'll do is I'll read out the questions, let you go first on each of them, Stuart.
All right, cool.
So the first one is from another Stuart Whitehouse of Season 8 fame, and asks nice and simply, what is your favourite food and drink?
Oh, so mine's going to be seasonal, because food, if it's middle of winter here, it gets a little bit cold. Not quite as cold as it gets over where you guys are, but I do like a nice homemade cottage pie. If it's in summer, some lamb backstraps, or a nice big chunk of steak on the barbecue with some homemade potato salad. Drink wise, and I don't know if there's any noise in the background that you guys might have picked up on this recording, but it relates to my drink selection. I tend to drink my own body weight in Pepsi Max every day, and I managed to tip over an entire can of Pepsi Max into my lap right now about 5 minutes ago. So I'm sitting here a wee bit soaked at the moment, dripping in
That's it.
Pepsi.
You love it. You love it so
Yep,
much you shower in it. Yeah.
exactly. Yeah. But I do like, a whiskey or a gin and tonic or a glass of red wine at night. Just one glass with my dinner. Just to make the day worthwhile. So those are my favorites. There's no one alcoholic drink that I prefer, other than that it has to be gluten free. And you'll see for some of the other options, the other questions we're being asked, that gluten free theme is going to come through quite strong here, because I am celiac, so I can't go anywhere near beers or anything like that. But whiskeys, gin and tonics, and red wine are fairly safe.
Yes.
What about yourself?
Yeah, for me, I think if somebody came to me now and said, "Okay, we're going out for dinner, your choice, what you're going to have," I think I would always choose a really nice steak restaurant. I was lucky enough at Christmas time, so we always have a kind of works subsidized Christmas dinner thing for our teams, and it's always tightly controlled by budget. And we've joked every year about a restaurant near us called Pasture, which is just an incredible, super pricey steak place. And so every year the message comes around from the boss saying, "Oh, where should we go for a Christmas dinner this year?" And everybody always types in Pasture, and then there's lots of like laughing emojis and yeah, but where are we really going, kind of thing. And this year, I don't know what changed, but this year somebody did the joke Pasture, and then it was like, "Oh, I think we can do that." So we went to this steak restaurant, and it just there's something about going to a really good steak place where it's just out of this world, a completely wonderful taste. So I would always choose a steak meal out. I do love a curry. So I come from Birmingham in the UK, which is the UK capital of curry. But I do make quite a lot of curry at home. So I think if it was offered a restaurant out, I'd choose steak. And like yourself, I'll enjoy a range of anything to drink. I think, again, if I was offered just one drink, I'd probably take a nice glass of red wine, especially with my steak. But I do like, I think you can probably see behind me, I've got a couple of bottles of bourbon on my shelf there.
Yeah.
So I do treat myself. Father Christmas brought me a couple of nice bottles of bourbon that I'll try and make last through the year. So
Excellent.
Good question. Thank you for that, Stuart. The next question is an interesting one. It's from Brian, who obviously isn't here today. I don't know whether this is a question for the podcast or whether it's really him just trying to establish the boundaries of the rules. But the question is free DLC allowed? I think Ghost of Yotai Legends is dropping soon.
Yeah, I mentioned it earlier. Only if you platinum the original game. If you go through the entire story, and that was me being funny, responding to Brian. I think as long as you roll credits, roll credits in the original game, and then the free DLC is more than allowed. But if you're struggling with the original, then you probably need to spend the time to get through that first before you move on.
Yeah. That seems on message, doesn't it? I mean, I was going to take a harder stance and kind of say no, and then I remembered everything that I've said about Arc Raiders, which is they're dropping new content all the time, and it isn't called DLC because it's a live service game, and so I can't be too hypocritical and say, "Oh, well, you can't play new content. You've got to do your backlog," because otherwise I kind of stymie myself for the year.
Yeah.
Next question from Paul Wilson of Season 13 fame. Do you suffer from analysis paralysis when it comes to the overwhelming choice of things to play and watch? And does it sometimes lead to just not being able to make a choice?
No. When it comes to games, I tend to look at the reviews first. And I know the style of game I like. And so I tend to stick with what's safe. I'm going to like this, so I'll keep playing the same style. That does work against you in certain conditions, because you don't go outside of your comfort zone and you don't try something new, like Arcade Paradise or like Silt, for example. I was watching the videos of Silt when you were playing it, and I thought, man, that looks like something I would really enjoy. But I just never picked it up and never even tried it. When it comes to what I tend to what choice I would make, I just sort of fall into things. It's I've not been at the points where I've just gone, I've got this huge list and I can't figure out anything. I think the planning that we did before we went into this season is certainly working really well for me in terms of what I play next, because I have that list and I know what I'm working through and I know what the procedure is. To the point where today I went back through that A to Z list and I've extended it out so that I get more of those really old retro games in there now. And so I've gone and I've extended out to say, let's look at ZX Spectrum and Commodore and Amigas and Atari STs and all those things and add them into the list as a separate sort of side list. So yeah, there's things there that I'm looking forward to playing. And I'll just keep working through. Yeah.
Lovely. Good.
What about you?
And yeah, from my side of things, yeah. So when it comes to watching stuff on telly, me and the missus have got a really tried and tested way of resolving stuff. So basically, one of us will make a shortlist, because obviously we're the same. We've got all the different services, and so you could spend an hour choosing what you're going to watch tonight, and then realise it's time to go to bed. So one of us will create a shortlist, and it has to be created quickly. So it's just choose 3 things, one of which we're going to watch tonight, and then the other one chooses one of those 3. So it kind of very quickly just homes it into, okay, we're either watching this, that, or the other, and the other person just says, yeah, let's do this one. So that works well. And then in terms of what to play, it's quite nice. I mean, I mentioned last time about how I love browsing the stores, and certainly pre-Year of Shame, there'd be a little bit of analysis paralysis where I'm browsing stores in precious gaming time. I'd spend half an hour looking for what it might be, and I might choose something, and then there's the download and all of that kind of stuff. So I would potentially waste a bit of time. But to be honest, looking through the backlog is not necessarily a quicker experience than looking through a store. But I enjoy it. I've thought about this long and hard, and whether it's, am I wasting my time when I'm looking at what I might play rather than just getting on with it and playing it. And for me, it feels like part of my hobby. I enjoy. I don't know. It's like looking at the menu in a restaurant. You're taking in what the possibilities are, and getting excited about them. And you might be not just choosing for tonight, but you're clocking other things where you think, actually later down the line, I might try a bit of that. So, yes, I do suffer analysis paralysis, but I love it.
Good.
Right. Next question from Ben Bowles, again, season 13 fame. What's your game with the biggest playtime so far this year? Are you sticking to playing one, then the next for completion, or has something just grabbed you?
Yeah, definitely Baldur's Gate and Clear Obscure, the only 2 that I've played across both months. I'd say that Baldur's Gate has probably got more of the gaming hours in than any other. But this month, definitely Arcade Paradise consumed the vast majority of time. I do tend to stick to one game at a time and try and complete it until I hit those walls and just can't get past it, and then I'll put it to one side and come back to it later on. And as we've seen, if I finish a game and there's a chance of 100%ing it, I'll certainly do that. I'd go back and I'd clean up the last couple of trophies and just enjoy my time in that game world while I've got the time, because I know that if I've rolled the credits, I'm probably never going to go back to it again after I turn it off and move on to something else. So I complete it and then look for something else to play after that.
Yeah. I've got big respect for the way that you play games. You're both determined to get to the finish, but also I like that platinum thing. I find it amazing. I think it's really good. You're getting maximum value.
Except for ukulele. Ukulele can sod right off.
Exactly. Whereas for me, I'm pretty much the opposite of you. I think I put in our chat this month that I'm a games slut, and that kind of sums it up. So I will shamelessly play a game and then just ditch it and pick up something else. And I've thought, is this a bad thing? Should I be sticking to a thing? But my attitude for my gaming style is that I always want to be playing the game that I want to be playing, and that jumps around a little bit. And some things I'll pick up, and like Silt, I picked up, I've played a couple of hours of it, and then the next time I streamed or the next time I gamed, I didn't feel like it. And I did have that little conversation with myself, should I just carry on with Silt? And it was like, well, I don't fancy it, and I'm going to be kind to myself and play something that I do fancy. And I think that's when I picked up Papers, Please. So, and I had a brilliant time with that. So I think that's the thing. And for me, I do like completing a game, but pretty much when I've rolled those credits, that's me done. Unless it's a game that I absolutely want to spend more time in the world. Like the platinum thing, the way my brain's hardwired, I'm not fussed. Credits count for me. Okay. I'll give myself a tick if those credits have run.
And so to be honest, as you say, it's gameplay. It's not work, and it should never feel like work. So, if you're not enjoying it, drop it, get something else, enjoy your time there, and then come back to it later on. Yeah, absolutely. So, but like I say, I've got absolute respect for the completionists amongst us. I think you're a truer gamer. And then our last question is from a Mr. Brian Riley of season 13 and this season fame. And he says, Stuart, that you picked a question last month. It was just in the chat at the end where you said, why weren't there any easy questions like your favourite cheese or whatever? So Brian is asking it this time. He says, what is your favourite cheese? And look, I camembert bad cheese puns. Also, cheesecake. Do you like to take it soft or hard? Well, firstly, that deep voice really got me going there. I couldn't remember asking the question, and then it was pointed out to me that it was about the favourite cheese from Stuart Cullen's question, where Stuart had asked a fairly deep question of his last month. So, favourite cheese is as silly a question as it is. If we're having a barbecue, as I said earlier, with the steaks and things, I'd usually go with halloumi. And if we're not doing a barbecue and you just want something to put on a cracker with a glass of wine, then a Havarti is usually my cheese of choice. With the cheesecake,
tell me about Havarti.
It's like a soft Edam. It's a very very plain cheese. Yep. With cheesecake, it has to be gluten-free, obviously. So that does limit my choices. There's a local place here that does one, but it's a New York style. So, i.e. a hard cheesecake with a gluten-free biscuit base. And that's my usual go-to.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, I do like a bit of cheese of an evening. And I think I would choose Cambozola. So that is relatively soft, kind of a brie-like texture, but with a little bit of the old blue mold going on in it. That would definitely be my one. And then cheesecake. I love seeing a question about cheesecake. So my mother-in-law makes the most incredible cheesecake with a super soft, like almost just complete fluffy foam top and a beautiful gingery biscuit base. And I'm very excited because I'm off to the in-laws after we've done this recording, and if I'm very lucky, there might be a cheesecake waiting for me later tonight, so I can report back. So that is all of our questions, which I think brings us towards the goodbyes bit. I think that might be it.
Thanks all for the questions. Again, a very good selection this month, so much appreciated. Hope you enjoyed the answers.
Great, yeah. And thank you, Stuart, for your company on the podcast today. I wish you continued strength in the month ahead. Obviously, with the birthday coming, you've got a few kind of tests and temptations to deal with. I did say earlier, I'm a bit worried you're going to complete your entire backlog at this rate. So we'll see how that goes. And again, from me, thanks for the community questions and for tuning in to hear our pain and shame. So it
Excellent
is a
stuff.
goodbye from me.
Yeah, and a goodbye from me.
Onto the socials. You can email questions and comments to us at yearofshame@gmail.com. We're on the YouTube, MLGY lowercase os, and you can contact us through Blue Sky, X, Twitch, and Facebook if you just type Year of Shame, all lowercase. Thanks.